Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. I hope you're all doing well. Today, we're trying something a little bit different. We've been doing some live streams and we've been adding some more content to the channel. And we thought it might be fun just to do a live stream that's just more of a casual chat, hangout session, and talk about martial arts. What if you guys have any specific questions or if there's any topics that you want to bring up? I'm putting out on the table right now. Cobra Kai Season 5 kit just came out. And for those of you who are fans of the channel and who've been with us for a while, you know how much we like to cover the topic of the Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, especially in its relation to the martial arts universe. And for today's stream, I just thought it might be fun to actually play through the original Karate Kid NES game from 1987, the actual cartridge. I didn't have this growing up, surprisingly enough. Like as much of as a fan as I was of the Karate Kid, I didn't watch the cartoon series. I don't know if you think I knew about that. And I didn't own the game, and I only played it briefly as a kid. And I picked up this copy a couple years ago, but yeah, I thought it might be fun. So just a fair warning, I'm not good at this game. I've only played it a few times, so don't expect any professional level, Twitch level streaming playthroughs. It's just more of a casual atmosphere. But yeah. Oh, hi Mario. How's it going, man? You're watching this at work? Yeah. Well, we're gonna hang out for a bit, and if you guys like this, we'll do more of these streams. Like I said, it's more of just a casual hangout. Let's talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, what your influences were in the martial arts, and yeah. And it's interesting because this game, it came out in '87, but it's actually based on the 1986 film, The Karate Kid Part Two. And they just call it The Karate Kid. But if you look at the box art, I don't know if you can see it real well, but it's actually Daniel's wearing the red gi top from the movie, but that was a big trend with a lot of video games, especially the ones that came out in the 80s or the later 80s. So, there's Jaws, there's The Karate Kid, there's Friday the 13th, there's Nightmare on Elm Street. Those games, they're just called their main title, but they're actually based on whatever sequel was out at the time. Like the Jaws NES game was actually based off of Jaws 4, not the first film. Same thing with Friday the 13th, I believe was based on like the third game, or maybe it's more general mishmash, whereas Nightmare on Elm Street was based on the third movie. And so Mario, you only knew it from Angry Video Game Nerd. Yeah, I love that channel, by the way. I knew about this game. I had some friends that had it. I didn't own it myself. I don't think it's as bad as what the Video Game Nerd says it is. It's not the greatest game in the world. It's pretty. I mean, it's fun. It's a good little time spender. What's interesting though is it's a really short game, but it's hard. There's only 4 levels, and that doesn't seem like that'd be very much. But the game's got some caveats to it, which the Angry Video Game Nerd pointed out. There's a lot of things in the game that make it hard to play. The play control's not the smoothest. It's kind of got like sticky controls. The jumping actions aren't the greatest. And when you get hit, you get knocked back like 15 feet. So there's a lot of cheap reasons why the game is hard. But I thought it'd be fun to go through it. Hey, Scorch, how's it going, sir? I like these live streams, and I think you should do more of them. I would love to do more of them. We actually have quite a few plans. So our thinking is we've got our Art of One Dojo live, which is going to be serious topics, like the prison one we did recently. If you guys have not watched that, I would recommend go checking it out. We had a great discussion with a lot of viewers talking about going over the topic, should martial arts be allowed in prisons? So we covered that. And then on the flip side of those topics, we wanted to do some more lighter hearted stuff. And that's what the Retro Dojo is going to be. If you guys want more of this, we'll do more of this. There's a lot of martial arts video games out there, especially vintage ones. So I thought it might be fun. We'll just put on a game, play through it a little bit, have a chat session, hang out for, a little bit, and just kind of see where it goes. Because the thing is interesting because for me, the Karate Kid strikes me because it was one of my biggest introductions to the martial arts. It impacted me as a kid to get into the martial arts, and I know that is the case for a lot of people. The game, like I said, I wasn't really taken to the game too much, but I'd like to know what you guys, what made you guys join the martial arts? Was it a movie? Was it a video game? Was it a cartoon, a show? What were your influences that got you to start training? Was it going to your friend's school? What was it? So this is a good chance for us to get to know each other and hear from you guys. Oh, what is that, Mario? There is a spiritual sequel to this game called Okinawa Rush. It's an indie game. Oh, I did not know that. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to check that out. Okinawa Rush. For you, Street Fighter got you into the martial arts. Yeah, that was a big one too. That came out when I was in middle school, junior high school. That was huge, which is funny because this Karate Kid game, they actually have a one-on-one mode. I mean, you got 2 buttons, you got 2 moves, and it's you and Chosen. So as a second player, can play as Chosen. I've never actually played that mode, but I can't imagine it being very good because it was way before Street Fighter's time. But yeah, so also I want to give a spoiler warning. there's a lot we could just talk about and chat about. The default topic is the Karate Kid franchise and Cobra Kai, since Cobra Kai Season 5 just came out. So there will be spoilers. I'll do frequent spoiler alerts. I'll try to hold back as much as I can, but just let you guys know, whatever, if you have not seen Cobra Kai or Season 5 yet, there might be some spoilers, so just kind of heads up for that. Is anyone else here excited for the upcoming Cobra Kai 2 Dojo Wars video game? I just saw a commercial for that. That looks really cool. I haven't played the first Cobra Kai game. I want to. I don't really have any new modern systems. The newest system I have is a Wii, and it was given to me. And other than that, I've been playing some VR. But, the game looks great. And, yeah. All right, cool. So basically what we're going to do is we're gonna put the game on, just casually chat. It's just a random playthrough. And, yeah, so keep telling me what your influences are. So I see a lot of people are got their influences from the old Shaw Brothers movies. That's a good one. The Kung Fu films, Street Fighter video games, Ninja Turtles. Yeah, see, Ninja Turtles was more around my age too. I was a little bit older when Turtles came out, but the old Kung Fu game for the NES. Yes, and I don't know if you've seen the episode Blade. We did one a couple years back on the channel. If you do a search for Kung Fu NES, we did do a video on that. And on our Patreon, I did a kind of a recorded stream of an unofficial sequel somebody made for that. So if you're interested, go check that out. So for you, one of your earliest martial arts influences was Cody from Final Fight. I spent many hours playing Final Fight on my SNES in the early 90s. Yeah, I played that at a friend's house quite a bit. I never owned that one. I played a lot of Street Fighter. Final Fight I played a little bit. It wasn't my favorite of the beat-em-up games. I was more into the turtle games for the beat-em-up games, and the fighting games was Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. But oh, your influence was You Only Live Twice, since it featured ninjas. Nice. 1967. Yeah. You don't hear too many people using the Bond movies as influence for martial arts. I like that. I like that one. All right, so let's switch over to the game mode. Let me know if how the volume is for you guys, if everything's all right, and then we will get this going. If you guys need me to turn it up, turn it down, just let me know. I'll bring it down just a little bit. But yeah, right away you can tell from the title screen that it is definitely derived from the Karate Kid Part 2. That is the poster shot. And this game is definitely based on the events of the second movie. Like, the first level is the tournament. And you'd be like, oh, well, the whole movie summed up in one quick little level. Well, I don't really think of it as the first movie summed up. It's more like how the second movie started. It was just, they showed a recap. That's kind of what I think this first level is. Yes, but it takes place in Okinawa. It's definitely based on the events of the Karate Kid Part 2. And just, if you guys have not seen this game, it's basically Daniel running through Okinawa, jumping over pits and obstacles, and beating the same carbon copy of the bad guy. And there's little mini games, there's catching the fly with chopsticks, there's the ice break, there's the dodging the hammer, the bladed hammer, which I've never been able to do. And then basically the goal is just to get to the end of the 4 levels and fight Chosen and save Kumiko. I've never been able to do it. I haven't played this game besides a refresher yesterday, just to kind of get the controls again. I haven't played this game in about a year, so don't expect any miracles. I don't know how far I'm going to get with this. LJN was also known for making toys. Yeah, so for those of you who are familiar with the Angry Video Game Nerd, he's not a fan of LJN for video games. There's quite a few bad ones, and this was one of them. I mean, this was an LJN game, and it's honestly probably one of the better ones that they did. There's a lot of bad ones, but all right, so let's get into this. This is funny. The tournament scene in this game is ridiculous. It's just literally push buttons. And I don't know who these characters are supposed to be, but maybe that's Daryl Vidal, maybe that's Johnny or Bobby or Dutch or whoever. They're not exactly making it screen accurate. And is anyone else creeped out by how large the ref is compared to everybody else? I don't remember Pat Johnson being that large in the film. Yeah, this first level is kind of just tedious just to get through. You just push buttons, and I actually already lost. Bright blue uniform. That must be a Vovenam uniform. Best tactic is just be cheap and just keep pressing these buttons. The Maximum Carnage game. No, I have not played. I'm not sure if I have that. I have a friend who gave me some SNES games a couple years ago. I'm not sure if that's one of them or not. That might be. I'll have to check it out. And there we go. I've just beaten stage 1. There's the whole first movie summed up for you right there. So now the rest of this is in Okinawa. And it's basically, the play controls are very simple. You can jump, you can duck, you can punch and kick. If I hold forward, he just does standard punches and kicks. If I stand still, he'll do the crane kick or the drum punch if I have any. So you can see up at the top, you got the crane kicks and drum punch count. You're in those from getting special points, or getting points from the special games, the mini games. The play control's kind of hard. The C gives you crane kick, but it's so easy to use your crane kicks by accident. And this play control is not the greatest. Like I said, it's sticky. It's not smooth. Getting the annual jump is very awkward. So your best bet is to kind of just try to time your kicks. And these open doorways are the mini games. And so this was the ice block break. So this was pretty basic. You just get your life meter up as high as you can. I did terrible on that. The life bar wasn't filling up all the way that I could see. But so what do you guys think of I hope you get to the part with swinging hammer 6 times during the minigame. Yeah, no, that is if this video game, I've been able to catch all the flies with chopsticks. I've been able to break the ice blocks. I didn't do it this time, but for some reason I have not been able to dodge a single hammer in this game. So we're gonna see if that's gonna happen. But what did you guys think of Cobra Kai? Those of you who have seen season 5, are you happy with where it went? What do you guys think? And what are your predictions for season 6? If there's gonna be season 6, they have not renewed it yet, which I'm not gonna lie is concerning me a little bit. I love overall how the series has summed up itself as a sequel to the show. The new season's getting violent. Yeah, they've definitely been raising the stakes, and I love all the seasons. Don't get me wrong, I love every single season of the show. 4 was starting to get a little bit tedious, in my opinion. The drama that was going back and forth. There was a lot of characters that were repeating the same habits. The Daniel Johnny back and forth was getting a little old, in my opinion. Just because they would make, progress, and all of a sudden, one little misunderstanding, and they were right back where they were before. And there's they can only drag it out for so long. Yeah, I'm doing terrible here. But I like season 5. I think the pace in season 5 picked up. We actually binged it in one night. We watched it in one shot. We couldn't stop. We finished an episode. We'd be like, nope, put on the next one. They put so much. They put so much in this season. I'm actually impressed with how fast they covered story plots. And in my opinion, they kind of wrap things up pretty nicely. I mean, if the show were to end where it ended, it almost works. Besides, there's a little bit of that small cliffhanger at the end. But most of the story threads are wrapped up. And I've actually been having trouble wrapping my head around what they could do for season 6. At least a complete season 6. That wasn't so good. There are a few threads that were left open, but they're minor. So again, so yeah. There's going to be a lot of trial and error with this. Like I said, I don't expect to get too far in this. For me, Season 3 is the greatest of all time. Season 3 was really good. I think I'm going to put my vote for Season 5. I think Season 5 was my favorite, to be honest with you. Yeah, I just love the pace of it. I love how the stakes were raised. I love seeing the characters coming back. Again, so you guys see above, there will be some spoilers, so there's a spoiler alert. I loved seeing Mike Barnes again. I thought that was amazing. Although I wish we had him a little bit more. I'm a little disappointed that having a character like Mike Barnes, we got barely any fight scenes with him. Like the biggest fight we got was between him and Chosen in the furniture store. Him and Johnny had good promise, but then they kind of held it off. And at that point, we really didn't see him do much. So I was a little disappointed with that. I was hoping we'd have him a little bit more than what he was. Chosen was a wonderful surprise. He was a fun cameo in Season 3. I loved him. I loved him in Season 5. With all the drama and, like you said, the heaviness and the violence that was going on, he was the perfect balance to that. And I never thought in my life I would say that Chosen would be the comic relief for the Karate Kid. But he made it wonderful. And that end scene, or the episode 10, seeing Johnny and Chosen and Mike Barnes all together on the same side with Daniel, sort of, blew my mind. Like, I never thought it was going to go that way. And I'm a little bit mad at myself. I mentioned this in the previous video. I'm a little bit mad at myself because when they were talking about this game, when they were talking about this movie coming out, this season coming out, they teased Mike Barnes, and immediately my brain went to, oh, he's going to be an awesome villain this season. He's going to run one of the Cobra Kai dojos. It's going to be fantastic. My little pea brain never considered the fact that he might actually be good. I mean, and I should have seen it coming. They did it with Johnny. They did it with Chosen. I was expecting Mike Barnes to be the bully until it showed up that turned out that Daniel was the one reaching out to him. So when that happened, I'm like, it's Cobra Kai. They're going to round him out like everyone else. And he was really fun to see, in my opinion. Robin Lively as Jessica was a fun surprise. I was wondering if they were going to try to put her in there. She had such a small role in the series, and she was there in Karate Kid 3, but she didn't serve a whole lot of plot purpose other than she was going to be a love interest that didn't pan out. And I guess Ralph Macchio was uncomfortable with their age difference. She was 18 at the time. He was 28, and he didn't really feel comfortable with supposedly with her being a love interest, so they made them platonic friends, which was kind of weird, a weird dynamic in that film. But once she left, it was kind of like she didn't have any place. So I was wondering how they'd bring her back in. I loved how they did it, honestly. I thought it was a nice surprise, and she actually served to clarify the threat that Terry Silver was. And can we just give a nod our hats to Thomas Ian Griffith for his performance as Terry Silver in the season? Top notch. I mean, he was a great villain. He's one of the reasons I still like Karate Kid 3. The movie has its issues, but Terry Silver was a fun villain, and they brought him back, and he had that same fun maniacal villain like aspect to him, but he was a little bit more menacing this time around. So I thought he was an absolute great addition to the season, to the show. And like I said, going forward, I'm not really sure what they would do with the season 6. There's a few threads. Obviously, we have, again, spoiler alert, we've got the 𝗘𝗘𝗘𝗘𝗏 tournament, which is cool, taking things on the global scale. But can they wrap 10 seasons around to prep for that? And then there's the cliffhanger. I'm having a hard time seeing what they do for 5 or for 10 episodes. That's a lot considering how fast this season was. I don't want season 6 to be dragging on or slow pace unless they do an abbreviated season. That's always a possibility too. So I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think the story is going to go in season 6? Are there any more cameos to come in? There's really no one left except for Hilary Swank. And for those who know me, you know how torn I am on that. No disrespect to Hilary Swank whatsoever. I think she's a fantastic actress, and I think she did well with what they gave her. My problem is with what they gave her. The next Karate Kid, I cannot stand that film. I have tried over and over and over to like it. I've probably given it a good 5-6 watch-throughs, and every time I watched it, I like it less. And like I said, it sucks because Mr. Miyagi's in it, and I don't even like Pat Morita that well in it. Like the way they wrote Miyagi, he was so obnoxious and creepy and too Confucius, and I don't really like how they treated his character. I don't really care for the story. It was still kind of a weird, lazy mishmash of like we had our carbon copy Kreese, or our poor man's John Kreese. And this military program in the school was a weird thing altogether. And he was like making them soldiers. It was just a weird. It felt like they came up with a plot within like 5 minutes, and they just tried to make another Karate Kid film. Ralph Macchio turned it down. They were going to make another one. He turned it down. He didn't like how 3 turned out, and I'm glad he didn't do this one. But my other issues, yeah, the Zen bowling, the monks is one of my issues. Mainly, my real problem with the film, besides I just don't think it was a very good movie, it breaks too much continuity. It doesn't really fit within the Karate Kid universe, in my opinion. A lot of things that were previously established, this movie kind of broke. Like the whole thing with Miyagi teaching Julie's father in the army. That's as far as I ever get on this stage. Oh, Blade, we'll get back to Mr. Han. Don't worry, I have a whole other rant about that movie. But no, the Miyagi having, like, they started the movie with her already knowing martial arts. Miyagi just had to refine her. But she learned it from her dad, who learned it from Miyagi in World War II. And right away, there's a problem, because he said he taught her father. Well, that breaks continuity with the Karate Kid, where he said Daniel was his first student, that he had never taught anybody before. And Daniel said, well, would you consider it? And he goes, well, it depends on the reason. So Daniel was supposed to be his first student. So all of a sudden, now he's taught Julie's father. So I didn't like that. They also get Mr. Miyagi's name wrong, his first name. I guess they assumed that the movies had never assigned him a name, and they call him Kitsuki in this film. But his name is actually Nariyoshi, which we see on the gravestone in Cobra Kai. But not only that, in the second Karate Kid film, when they're going to Okinawa and they arrive at the airport, Chosen is there with the sign for their limo ride, and the sign is in Japanese, but it is translated. It does say Nariyoshi Miyagi. So the second film already established his name. I guess the studio just didn't, when they were making the fourth movie, they just didn't acknowledge it, or they didn't even know they did it. So they got his name wrong. They changed his background. And there was something else I didn't like. That's another continuity break. Oh, the monks. Like, okay, so she's got these monks. Of all the crap Daniel went through in 3 movies, He never took Daniel to see these monks. So, she gets bullied in high school. I mean, come on. I mean, after what Mike Barnes and stuff did to them, when did he meet these monks? So maybe he met them later. That's a possibility. But the whole Zen bowling was bad. The cranberries kata scene was bad. The fight scenes in the movie are terrible. Not the best choreography, and I know Fumio Demura, who did Miyagi's stunts in the original trilogy, supposedly did his stunt work in this film. I'm not sure where he did it because most of the time it's Pat Morita, so maybe they're smaller stunts. But even for a movie based on karate, the fighting wasn't good. Like the Miyagi fight at the gas station is embarrassing. It's so cringe. And what is this? Okay, I really hope they won't cast Hilary Swank as Tori Nichols' mom. It would be such a disservice to her character. And I also hope that Kim Dae-yoon will be Julie Pierce's nemesis. I don't think she's going to be her mom because this is my theory. I do believe they referred to her once in the show. Okay, as far as canon goes, what the screenwriters have said is that when they sat down to make the show, they wanted to consider what was in universe and what wasn't. Obviously, we have the original Karate Kid trilogy is in universe. They decided that anything that had Mr. Miyagi in it is in universe. So the Julie Pierce / Hilary Swank film is technically canon, although it's, in my opinion, still a broken canon. Whereas the Jackie Chan remake is not canon because that didn't happen in their universe. Although they said that since Jackie Chan, they referred to Jackie Chan as an actor, as a person. So they said that in their world, if there's a movie called The Karate Kid, that's the version they've seen. So in a way, technically, it could be canon, but I don't know how they would work Hilary Swank into this, but I do believe they have referred to her once in a very, very, very small way in season 2 when Daniel is teaching Samantha and Robbie that two-man kata where they had to balance on the pond. When he was teaching them first in the dirt, he says it's been a long time since Miyagi-Do had more than one student. When did Miyagi-Do ever have more than one student? When did Daniel train with anyone else? It's not Samantha. Because Daniel was her student and Samantha did not, Samantha was Daniel's student and she was too young as a kid and she did not learn that kata yet. So who did Daniel learn that kata with? So if there was more than one student, the only thing I can think of is it's supposed to be Julie. So apparently, in my theory, is the events after Karate Kid or the next Karate Kid, Daniel must have come back and the two of them must have trained together for some period of time, because how else would Daniel have learned that two-man form, and who else would he be referring to as more than one student? So I do believe that they've acknowledged her. Maybe that's as far as it goes. I don't know where they would bring her in plot-wise. I mean, they could, for fan service, they could bring her in as a cameo. I don't think they'd bring her as Tori's mom, because if Daniel knew that was Tori's mom, I think they would have be a lot more interaction, especially with Amanda trying to reach out and help Tori. So I don't think she's gonna be her mom. I don't know. She might just be a pop-on role. Maybe she'll show up and support or help for the tournament coming up, or maybe they don't bring her in at all. I know the fan base is pretty split on her. I'm fine if they don't bring her in. If they do bring her in, I think it should be a very minor role. There's a difference between a student and your commanding officer that you teach moves to during World War II. That's what I'm going to assume Miyagi said Daniel was his first student. Yes, but it's the way it was phrased. Daniel said, "Have you ever taught anyone?" And Miyagi goes, "No." So he didn't say he didn't have a student. He said he had never taught anyone. So you could be right, and maybe it's just semantics, and we can let that slide a little bit. But it's just the way he said it. Miyagi implied that he had never taught anyone before. World War II is a very different situation. You're right. And I also have a question too. So in season 3, when Daniel goes to Okinawa and Chosen teaches him the aggressive side of Miyagi-Do, he's like, "Oh, maybe he never taught." And he's like, "Well, Miyagi never taught me any of this." And Chosen goes, "Well, maybe he thought you weren't able to or weren't ready." But that brings up a good question, and they have not answered that. Why did Miyagi not teach Daniel that side of Miyagi-Do? Is it because Chosen's right? Did he not feel he wanted to teach Daniel the aggressive and the violent side? Did he not believe in the violent side? Or is it possible that Miyagi himself never learned that part of it? Because he was raised in Okinawa with his friend Sato. They trained with his father. When they were 18, Miyagi, fell in love with Yukie, she was betrothed to Sato, and they had their rivalry as spelled out in Karate Kid 2, and Miyagi left. So Miyagi left at 18 years old. Sato kept training. And he kept training Chosen. So is it possible that Miyagi left before even learning that half of Miyagi-Do? Did he even learn that part of it? Did he even know that part of it? And if he did, then why did he not teach Daniel? Was he just withholding information, or did he just feel that was too old world and not necessary? I think that's interesting. And Danny's aggressive behavior, yeah, yeah, that's definitely part of it. It's weird because a lot of the techniques they didn't really go into it too much. We saw the dead arms of the nerve, the pressure point systems, but if you guys recall in season 4, there's more. I do believe they're going to go back to this because in season 4 there is a scroll. I believe it's Miguel that's talking to Daniel, and there's a scroll that they show, and he looks at it and he asks what this is, and Daniel says, "That's a technique we will hopefully never have to use." And then they put it back. They didn't address it. And it was like, well, that's kind of ominous. It's a technique we hope we never have to use. Someone online, or people online, have translated it. From what I understand, the Japanese is a little bit weird, but it says something about the lines of the Guardians of Shisha see, I don't remember the exact translation. It has to do with the Guardians protecting someone, but the person doing the technique is vulnerable to death. It was something like, I'm doing a horrible massacre of a translation, but it implies that it's a deadly technique that's dangerous to do. And we haven't seen anything like that yet in the show, and I don't think they would have brought that in if they hadn't intended to come back to that. So is that going to be something, again, spoiler alert for season 5, is that going to be something that's going to be used on Kreese later? And if so, who uses it? It's Miyagi-Do, so that leaves Chosen or Daniel. I would have to, for Daniel to use something like that, it would have to be a pretty extreme situation. Like, Kreese might be in the middle of killing someone, or I don't know what would drive Daniel to use that. Chosen, I see using it. I can see that. But then, I don't know. It's too open for translation where it could go. So I find that interesting that we learned more about Miyagi-Do, but to me it raises more questions. And maybe they'll tie up some of that, maybe not. I mean, Miyagi's not around anymore, so Daniel will never know why he didn't learn that material. But it's quite possible that Miyagi himself just didn't know it either. That he might not have trained long enough with his father to learn it. Or who says that they even learned it from their father? We don't know. It's too open-ended. Penguin says, I feel Miyagi knew how hard-headed he was and how quick to anger Daniel could be. We saw how much Cobra Kai screwed his brain in just a few months during Karate Kid 3. That's very possible, too, and it would be very Miyagi-like to withhold that from him. I mean, Chosen seems to know that Miyagi didn't teach him everything. Scorch says, I could have sworn that Terry Silver broke Daniel's arm in their first fight, yet a few scenes later, he seems to be fine. Yeah, that's what I thought too, especially with the sound effect. They used that sound effect quite a bit. Like when Chosen was in the dojo in episode 2 fighting the other senseis, he did that a few times. Now, he might have broken their arms, but they tend to use that sound effect a lot, I've noticed. It's hard to tell whether it's just bones like breaking or like joints cracking. Miyagi also didn't teach him how to sweep. No, he taught him how to sweep, but he just how to sweep the front step. Somebody brought up Mr. Han. We haven't talked about this on the channel, and I'm not going to rant on this too much. The new Karate Kid remake from 2006, I believe, the Jaden Smith one. No, I didn't like that film. And I didn't like, if the Karate Kid didn't exist, I probably would have been fine with it. I mean, as a movie, it's okay. It's not bad. I did find it a little uncomfortable that they made the ages younger. They made them more middle school age. So having Mr. Han fight bullies that were like 12 was a little bit more uncomfortable than, 17. They weren't quite adults. And you can tell in the choreography, he was more defensive and had them hit each other versus striking them outright. But that also made, I think, the romance a little awkward too. I mean, teen romance is one thing. 12-year-old romance is something else. And I just don't like the laziness of it. I mean, bottom line, as a movie by itself, it's fine. Like, I could watch it. It's fine. I don't really ever want to watch it again. But it was lazy. And by lazy, I mean is that, okay, the title, The Karate Kid. The studio did that just to market the name Karate Kid. There's no question about that. And I do remember when they were talking about making it, they said that Will Smith said, we're not going to call it The Karate Kid. I don't know what we're going to call it. He goes, we're not going to call it The Kung Fu Kid. And then, like a week later, Sony announced The Kung Fu Kid. I actually saw posters that said The Kung Fu Kid, but that was short-lived. Then they wiped that out, and they went back to The Karate Kid. So Will Smith, at least, there's issues with him, but at least he knew that wasn't the right name to use. But Sony executives probably said, hey, we have this IP. We want to use the name. We're going to use the name. And I don't like how they explained it in the film, because the film is all Kung Fu. There's no karate in it. And they explained the title in the throwaway line when his mom goes, oh, how are your karate classes? He goes, it's not karate, Mom, it's Kung Fu. And she says, karate, Kung Fu, whatever. Okay, that is a disregard to the audience. Like, I was insulted to watch that, because it's like, you guys are just blatantly saying, we don't care. We just want to make this. We just want to cash in this name. And I saw the movie once. And by lazy screenwriting, they literally took the original Karate Kid script and just dumped it in China. And it's like 90%, 80 to 90% the same dialogue. The scenes are almost identical. There's a few minor changes, but watching the movie the first time through, I was able to quote along with the characters. I said the lines as they did, having never seen that movie before. That's how I knew how lazy that writing was. It was no effort. They copied and pasted the original film. It was a lesser remake, in my opinion, and I just didn't feel the chemistry between Mr. Han and Jaden Smith. Not like Daniel and Miyagi. It just wasn't there. The pieces weren't connecting with me. It's not a bad film. The choreography was great. The fight scenes were fantastic. I'll give them that. But for anybody who thinks that it was unbelievable that Daniel learned what he learned to fight in a tournament, this kid was doing flips and like advanced wushu stuff. So I think that criticism holds there too. Yeah. I don't know. I've got my issues with that movie. I just don't think it was well done, and that's probably why there was never a sequel. I mean, it did okay box office, I believe, but I don't think it did well enough for the studio to justify a sequel. And I'm so glad they went back to the original universe with Cobra Kai. My wife sent me a text one day, and it was just like a news story saying, "Oh, the cast unites for a show." I'm thinking, okay, it's like a reunion show, a documentary. And when I clicked on the article and saw it was a new series with Macho and Zabka, I was like, oh boy. It was the Karate Kid 4 I'd wanted like my whole life that we hadn't gotten until that point. And I could not ask for a better or more accurate sequel to the Karate Kid than Cobra Kai. So I think they've done a wonderful job. I love season 5. I think season 5 is my favorite, maybe next to the first season. Yeah, so I mean, what do you guys think? What is your feeling on the Mr. Han version or the Karate Kid remake? Did you think they did a good job? Was it worth doing more of? Oh, by the way, that's Sato if you guys can see hanging up in the corner. I'm pointing like you can see, but right in the top right, there's Sato hanging from the rafter. I think he gives a special life. He gives special. Oh, I missed him. You'll see Miyagi pop up and Kumiko and Sato pop up. So just like for bonus points, I believe. But what do you guys think about the Jaden Smith Karate Kid? Was it worth it? I wish I could blame the controller. It's just me. I just suck. Now, speaking of Karate Kid remakes and films, have you guys seen in the news recently that Sony has announced that they are making a brand new Karate Kid film to come into theater, I believe, in 2024? And the only description they gave is that it takes place in the original Karate Kid universe. Now, that can mean a lot of different things. The original Karate Kid universe technically encompasses the original trilogy, the next Karate Kid, and anything that happens in Cobra Kai. And so that's all they said. New movie, big screen, in this Karate Kid universe. So it's not a remake. So it's not going to be a sequel to Mr. Han or the Jackie Chan version. But that brings up a lot of questions. What does it involve? And my first initial reaction was, I hope it's not in replacement of Season 6. Because the way, again, a little bit of spoilers. I'm not going to give too many spoilers, but the way Season 5 ended, they could have ended it where they did, but they left that little bit of a door open for a Season 6. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, well, how can I wrap my head around a whole entire season with what's left? And then I noticed that, well, they have not renewed the show for Season 6 yet, which is really strange because so far up to this point, Netflix and YouTube, they have renewed Cobra Kai almost immediately after the season's dropped, and we haven't had an announcement yet. So my thought was, oh, man, are they going to wrap up the show with a movie? Which I guess could work. I don't like that. I don't personally like it when mediums jump mediums like to finish something off. Like, I don't like it if a book series becomes a comic series and you have to read that, or when a movie goes to TV or TV goes to movies to finish it. A connected universe is fine, but I don't like one to rely on the other as much. And I don't think a film that we have to go pay for to go see in the theater after we're paying for our subscription to Netflix to pay to go see the last chapter, I don't think that, in my opinion, that's the right approach. But the screenwriters have come out and said that, as far as they know, it has nothing to do with Cobra Kai, that they would love to do a Cobra Kai film, but that's not what the plan is, so they don't know what this movie is either. So this is kind of an open door. What could this be? Could it be a spin-off? Will it be a continuation of the events of after Cobra Kai? If they're planning to come out in 2024, that doesn't really give time for them to make a Season 6 and then work on the film. My question is, and a lot of people are wondering, is this a Miyagi prequel film? Now, what do you guys think about that? Because I would love to see a Miyagi prequel film. I would even watch that as a show. I think there's enough content there as a show. Because if you look back at Miyagi's history, we got little seeds and nuggets of what his background was. But mainly what we know is he grew up in Okinawa. He was a kid in Okinawa. He grew up learning karate from his father, who was a fisherman. and he was best friends with Sato, and usually father and son trained in karate, but he asked his father to include his best friend as an exception, so they basically trained as brothers. And then there's the whole, as they got older, Sato was engaged, the family's arranged a marriage with Yukie, but Miyagi fell in love with Yukie, they had a romance, and then Miyagi professed his love to her in front of the whole village, which broke Sato's heart and betrayed him, and he vowed vengeance, so Miyagi took off at age 18, and he left Okinawa. There's a whole wealth of information right there. We could do basically a Karate Kid movie. Maybe Miyagi was troubled as a kid. Maybe he was beaten up by the local villagers or local kids, and his father taught him karate to defend himself. We could learn his whole training and see how Miyagi-Do came and formed, because at the time Miyagi was a kid, Goju Ryu was just founded. So it'd be interesting to see how a lot of the local influences mixed and became this, and how the lore ties in. And there's you got your romance, you've got technically your villain and your best friend drama there. And then when he leaves, Miyagi, when he left Okinawa, he went to Hawaii and he worked in the cane fields where he met his wife. And this was a very, very, very brief line in Karate Kid Part 1 when he's talking about the background. He mentions meeting his wife at the cane fields. And at the time, Hawaii had their cane industry, sugar cane industry. So that could be a whole thing there. So he gets married, he moves to the States, then he gets sent to World War II to fight. And we know from the letter that he got in the first movie that his wife was interred at Manzanar, the concentration camp. So there's just so much drama there. And then there's World War II in its own. I mean, wow, he was part of the 442nd, which they explained, had the most Medal of Honors come out of that unit than the other unit. And then Miyagi himself had the Medal of Honor. So I think there's enough material there, more than enough for a film. And even if they wanted to do a couple seasons for a show, you've got his childhood and his history in Okinawa, leaving Okinawa and going to World War II, and then him coming back to the States. And I personally think it should end with him going to California, find out how he became the handyman working at this building. And I think the last shot should be him sitting there in his workshop trying to catch a fly. And we hear the screen door behind him open up and ask, with a young kid asking, "Can you come fix our faucet?" And Miyagi turns around, looks at the camera, and I think that would be the perfect place to end it. But what do you guys think? I think a Miyagi film would be a wonderful film, just because I can't think of any other spin-off characters that they could really get a whole show or a whole movie out of at this point. We've seen Kreese's background, at least enough of it. We know Johnny's background. Do we need Chosen's background growing up? I think he's in his best form now. Miyagi and Sato's all I can really think of. I mean, the other characters, where would we go? Unless they go forward with Cobra Kai, which is a possibility. But my personal opinion, I think a Miyagi film would be a great way to go. So let me know what you guys think. And yeah, I'm kind of curious to know about that. Showing the Miyagi Sato dynamic would be fun. I absolutely think so. I think the new Karate Kid movie will feature more Zen bowling. What new Karate Kid movie? Well, see, they could also go down that route too, and I don't know if I want them to do that, or if there's even a reason to reopen the next Karate Kid. I mean, if she doesn't show up on the show, the new generations don't know about it, and the old generations who watched the original trilogy isn't thrilled with it for the most part. So I don't think they would go down that path of doing a sequel to her film unless it's something new and that maybe they could team up. I don't know. Yeah, 100%. A Miyagi spinoff would be amazing. It would feel like a little soap opera at first. Well, it wouldn't have to. I mean, if they started with his childhood, you could have that dark, gritty tone to it of a young kid in Okinawa. Maybe make him a teenager and he's in the process of learning. Maybe, hey, it's interesting. Maybe Sato was his bully. Why don't we go that route? And then maybe they became friends later when Miyagi learned to defend himself, and then he talked to his father to teach him as well. That could be an interesting dynamic. I'd like to see in season 5 where Johnny describes the history of Miyagi-Do going back to Shinpo Sensei. Yeah, because he was getting it all wrong. Yeah. Somebody mentioned, let me scroll up. I'm really hoping to see both Daredevil Doll and Freddie Fernandez in season 6. Both actors are interested in coming back. I'd also like to see throw in William Christopher Ford. We got to get him in there too. Dennis from Karate Kid 3, wonderful guy. We interviewed him on the channel. Great guy. I would love to see Dennis come back in some aspects. Yeah, I am really surprised Daredevil Doll hasn't been in yet. I actually thought we were going to get him in season 4 at the tournament when we saw Locust Valley. I really thought we were going to see him. God, I'm horrible at that part. I was waiting to see him as a coach because that was the perfect place to put him. And when he didn't show up, I was really disappointed, and I believe he was as well. I don't know why they're not putting him in there. There's been a few places they could. He could be any sort of characters, but showing other dojos was the perfect way to do that. So I would love to see Daredevil Doll. Freddie Fernandez would be great. We did get Freddie Fernandez a reference in season 2 when they were fighting, or when they were training in the freezer. And all the boxes say Fernandez meets which is a reference to his T-shirt that said "Making Bacon" in the first movie with the two pigs getting it on. So yeah, so there's a reference in there. There's a lot of that's the other thing too is Cobra Kai. I love the care that these writers have put into the show. They are super fans, and you can tell they're super fans just with the amount of dialogue they reuse and the amount of references and throwbacks and Easter eggs. So I've covered this a few times, but like the warehouse Johnny trains out of says Weber Industrial on it. Weber was Daniel's original name in the script. It was Daniel Weber before it became LaRusso. And, you know, just the way they reuse lines. When Daniel's giving Johnny the car in season 1, he goes, choose. It was just like Miyagi said it to him in the first film. We giving him the car. And Kyler asking Johnny, oh, what's the matter? You having trouble breathing? They just reuse lines from the films, but they reuse them naturally. I just love the care and the detail that if nothing that you're going to miss if you haven't seen it, but those who are like super fans of the original films, there are so many levels of references and fan service in there that I really appreciate, and just little details that I think really tie it together. And it's one of those few instances where I really feel that Cobra Kai as a series makes the movie series better. I mean, I love the trilogy. I know a lot of people don't like the third one as much. I do. I still love the third one. But I think as a trilogy, it's pretty solid. This is terrible. This play control is horrible. As a movie trilogy, it's pretty solid. But I think the show makes it even better, and they kind of enhance each other. And there's not many series that can do that. You know, that's a really rare occurrence. I like to use Back to the Future as an example of a movie that is enhanced by its sequels. Like Back to the Future 1, to me, is like a perfect film, or a nearly perfect film. Cheap. But as great as Back to the Future is, Back to the Future 2 and 3 are really good. They're not as good as the first one, but together they make the first one a better film. And I think that Cobra Kai falls into the same boat, is that it makes... I hope you guys aren't watching this for the actual the gameplay, because I'm doing terrible. Hey, Sensei Vidal, how's it going, sir? Oh, welcome to the channel. Yeah, we were just talking about how it's a shame we haven't seen you in Cobra Kai yet. We think it's a huge injustice. I have to ask something, too. Okay, so for those of you who have not seen our interview with Mr. Vidal, he is a grandmaster of Kempo, Chinese Kempo. And in the movie, we see him fighting for Locust Valley. In Cobra Kai Season 4, we see Locust Valley back at the tournament, but I don't know if anyone else noticed, but they have embroidery on their gis that is Kyokushin. It is the Kyokushin logo. And I have to ask, at some point, Mr. Vidal, did Locust Valley switch over to Kyokushin, or is it a hybrid program, or were you playing the Kyokushin practitioner in the first film? Another aspect to the Miyagi series would be Miyagi in World War II receiving the news of his wife. Yeah. Miyagi's lost his wife during childbirth, and he got the note while he was in the war. As far as content, yeah, I think World War II would be a huge setting for Miyagi. So if they do end up doing a film versus a series, I wouldn't even mind 2 films or 3. I mean, depending on how much content they really can get out of it. But there's, I think, enough there for multiple films. I mean, I'm not saying they should do like a Lord of the Rings trilogy or anything like that, but it would be fun to see them really explore the background. So, yeah, no idea. Yeah, I thought it was really weird that they put the Kyokushin logo on Locust Valley. Yeah. But I just really appreciate, like, so that's what I was saying. I just think Cobra Kai has done a wonderful job rounding out the series. It brings more depth to the movies, and I like how there's things in the movies that were kind of questionable at the time, like, you know, how insane Silver was, and even back then people were like, okay, this is getting kind of crazy. This guy is tormenting this kid over a tournament, and I like that the show addresses how ludicrous those notions are, and it makes fun of it, and yet at the same time, it's just as ludicrous in many ways. Like, there's things in Cobra Kai that are kind of out there, like this whole last season. Mr. Zach and I were just talking about this the other day. Every character at the end of episode 10 should be in jail. Not just Kreese. I mean, what went down, they should all be arrested, especially considering you've got Robbie and Tori, who are kids who are already on probation, and Samantha. You know, these kids are all part of a karate brawl, are now part of another brawl after a brawl in the house of Mr. LaRusso, who's, you know, leading the karate in the valley, and you've got this, there's already police reports with violence against Kreese. Like, at some point, when it gets to the extreme that season 5 got to with the final battle, I think the police are arresting everybody and taking them all in for questioning and holding them until they can figure out just what the heck actually happened. Because yeah, I know. I mean, Silver's definitely going to jail, but there's a lot to go into that. Like, where are they getting a lot of evidence? Yeah, 𝗔𝗖𝗖𝗘𝗦𝗦 changed his testimony, but they need more than that to keep his lawyers busy. So they must have a lot of leads to go on. But the truth of the matter is, Johnny Chosen and Mike Barnes are going to prison too, because Silver's right. They did a break and entering and assault, and I mean, Silver had the right to defend himself, but he also had his own army there, and then they got to swords. And as Mr. Zach and I were talking about the other day too, is someone breaks into your house and you defend yourself with a weapon is one thing, but when it comes to things like sword play to that extreme, everybody's getting questioned. I mean, that raises a big eyebrow. So yeah, it's fun how Cobra Kai points out how ludicrous there's aspects are in Karate Kid, the trilogy, but while they do some of the aspects themselves too. Oh, I just beat level 3. Wasn't even trying. No. So this stage is like almost impossible. I actually remember playing this game on the original NES. Yeah. So I noticed one of the Karate Sensei Chosen fought had a Kyokushin logo. Yeah, I believe he was the Locust Valley. I think the gi had the Locust Valley logo. Whatever dojos that were in the tournament scenes, it seemed to be a sensei from each of those. There was Cutting Edge Karate, there was 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗘𝗡, there was, I don't know what the red one was, and there was Locust Valley. There was quite a few. 𝗔𝗖𝗖𝗘𝗦𝗦 needs to leave LA immediately. Yeah. Yeah. Especially, oh yeah, with Grease out. Now that's, okay, again, Season 5 spoilers. If anyone who's just joining, we're going to do some spoilers. So we've got the tournament coming up, the 𝗘𝗘𝗧𝗘𝗡𝗧. So that's obviously going to be a big part of Season 6, if we get a Season 6. But the other part is, we have unfinished business with Kreese. Wow, this is doing horrible here. Take that, drum punch. Kreese is out now, and he is mad. He was betrayed by Daniel and Johnny, which he should have been. But he is mad, and I can see him. Oh, wow. That's the first time I've ever been able to dodge any of those hammers. History, guys. History. No, but he's out, and the thing with him that really is stupid, how many times is this guy going to fake his death? This is at least the 3rd time. So you think the police would be onto him by now. But had he waited just a little bit, he might have been exonerated, because now Silver's going to jail. He's no longer going to be charged for attempting or assault on 𝗘𝗫𝗖𝗍𝗘. So he would have been out anyway, most likely. But now he's got assault with police officers, and oh, the game's going to start over. Now he's got assault, he's got escape, so he's going to have now he's got nothing to lose. He's in some serious trouble. So you're right. 𝗔𝗖𝗖𝗘𝗦𝗧 should probably leave town immediately. And where are they going to go? Are they going to have him like this villain in the background who's talking? I mean, we already know, he's willing to show up at Miyagi-Do. And he's willing to send kids to break into houses. So we know that Kreese is willing to cross some lines, and now he's got nothing left to lose. Then, yeah, that could be interesting. I wonder if Sensei Kim is sympathetic to Kreese, and she smiled when she was young. When did Sensei Kim see Kreese? I think Sensei Kim was done, to be honest with you, because she kind of was there simply for the honor for her grandfather's legacy. And when Daniel fights Silver, you actually see her just walk away at the end. I think she's done. Like, I don't see her bringing her back. I think she's done. I want to bring up something else too. During the Korean flashback. Oh, yes, in the flashback scene. You're right. They did okay, that's true. I still think that it kind of feels like they're done with her character, though. I think that scene was showing so Mario's referring to Season 5 when they showed the flashback of Kreese and Silver training with Master Kim, and in his granddaughter was hiding behind the pots, and Kreese smiled at her. I think what that scene is doing is they're starting to show us that Kreese and Silver were not ever really quite on the same page. Like, we watched the 3rd film, and yeah, they're like best buds or Vietnam buddies, and we see the flashbacks. But if you really look at their character developments in Season 3 and the Vietnam flashbacks, Kreese is this harder, tougher fighter, where Silver was not. They called him Twig, and he was very timid, and he was afraid, and he owed his life to he owed his life to Kreese for fighting for him in that pit. But you never really see them lined up because as they show us the flashbacks going on, they're getting the tattoos later when they come back to the States, and John Kreese is excited about opening up the dojo, and Silver's like, oh, but I gotta go do this with my father, but I'll still help, I'll still pay for it. And then in this season, they see that scene is showing that they're training together, but Silver wanted to take things to the higher level, to go to the 𝗘𝗘𝗘𝗧, and Kreese is like, no, I want to focus on my school. So I think that scene was there as a narrative to establish that Kreese and Silver, as good of friends as they are, they're same but different, that there's a lot of space in between their alignment. And especially after what Silver did to, the frame Kreese, we're starting to see that they don't have the same objectives. And it's interesting. There's a filmmaking technique, and I'll just say this briefly. It's a filmmaking technique called the four corners, and it's a very powerful narrative structure in which you've got your good guys and your bad guys. Characters are fighting for right and wrong and to save the world or whatever the stakes are. But you get like your four primary characters, and they're all fighting for the same goal, but they each have their own objectives and reasons why to achieve that goal. And I think Batman, one of the Batman Nolan films was like that. Was it The Dark Knight? Or it was Batman Begins. You've got, Batman's fighting for justice to save Gotham. You've got Ra's al Ghul fighting for Gotham to take it over. Then you've got Carmine Falcone, who's working with Ra's al Ghul, but he just wants to be a criminal underlord. Then you've got the Scarecrow, who's working for them, but he wants to do fear and be more of a terrorist. So you got four corners. You got four main characters fighting for the same goal, but for their own reasons. We're starting to see that now with Cobra Kai Season 5. You've got Daniel, Johnny, Silver, and Kreese. They're all fighting for control of karate in the Valley, but they all have their own specific reasons to do so. Daniel's fighting for the Valley to eliminate Cobra Kai. Johnny was fighting originally to redeem Cobra Kai, but he wants to stop Cobra Kai to erase Kreese. Daniel's just trying to preserve the kids and help the kids. Then you've got the Cobra Kai side fighting for the Valley, but you've got Kreese, who wanted to take over the Valley. He wanted to run his successful chain of dojos, where you've got Silver now had higher goals, the global tournament. So it's a very interesting dynamic. You get a lot of good dramatic writing out of the four corner structure, and we're starting to see that in Season 5. You've got these major characters with this major opposition. They're all fighting for the same goal, but they've got their own agendas. So I think, personally, that was a long answer at your comment, so I apologize for the rant, but I do believe that is what they were showing us in Season 5 in that flashback, because they were showing us that Kreese and Silver are not quite on the same page with each other. Yeah, Penguin says, if Kreese had stayed in prison just a couple of hours more, he'd probably have a reduced sentence or a probation because of Silver. Yeah, I agree. I mean, he was in there for assault of, I don't even think a reduced sentence. I think had he just stayed there and behaved, he would have been released because he would have been exonerated. The charges would have been dropped against him, and I think he would have been released. So he just kind of screwed himself with breaking out. Not that he had any idea what was going on outside the world. Yeah, now he might have a vengeance against Silver. Now, are we going to see Silver anymore? Who knows? Now, I want to bring up something else. So speaking of the detail in Cobra Kai, one thing that's really fun is we do these episodes every time the season comes out. We like to analyze the show and pick out details. And what's really fun is, and I don't know if it's intentional or just a coincidence, but every time we do an analysis, the following season tends to address that analysis. And I just think that's a really fun thing. Again, it could be coincidental. If it's not, that's even better. But like our first episode, What Kind of Karate is in Cobra Kai? We broke it down to Tang Soo Do for Cobra Kai and Goju Ryu for Miyagi-Do. And I mentioned that, Mr. Miyagi was based on Chojun Miyagi. And that I'm surprised that we didn't see a photo of Chojun Miyagi himself in the dojo. In Season 2, we see Daniel hanging up a picture of Chojun Miyagi. The movies never addressed it. Season 1 didn't address it. But all of a sudden, there he is. And in Season 3, we see Chosen have a Miyagi picture as well. And also, fun fact too, the shrine from the Karate Kid cartoon is sitting there on the shelf. But anyway, so as we go back forth, we analyze more and more. We ask more questions, and in the episode from last year, we covered there's a timeline error with the tournament scenes, the tournament sequences. Season 3 mentioned that Cobra Kai had won 1982 and 1983, where Johnny was a back-to-back champion, with Vidal winning number 1981. So Johnny had fought in 4 tournaments, 81, 82, 83, 84. We know what happened in 84. Daniel beat him. And Cobra Kai said that Johnny won 82 and 83, with Daryl Vidal winning 81. This does not match up with the third film. When Daniel beats Mike Barnes, the announcer says Daniel's the first contestant to win back-to-back, or 2 years in a row. So Johnny couldn't have won 82 and 83. It should have been 81 and 83. And when fans addressed this, the screenwriters actually, I think they kind of like acknowledged that they made a mistake, because they said, oh, well, Kreese must have given them fake news, because we got this information in the newspaper article that Robbie was reading. So, oh, Kreese must have given them fake news. And Mr. Vidal, if you're still watching, you know how we feel on this. Honestly, you should have won all 4 tournaments because no one else was anywhere near the level you were. But so I asked another question, because I was trying to break down the history of Cobra Kai. So the season 3 establishes that Cobra Kai had won 4 out of the last 5 tournaments. So I'm like, okay, so that means they competed at least 5 years in a row, or at least 5 years. And if the first movie was 1984, that would be their 6th year. So I worked it back to, okay, so Cobra Kai was around at least since 1978. And it got me wondering, well, when did the school open? When did John Kreese actually open Cobra Kai? In the first film, when Daniel walks into the school, he sees, the picture on the wall where it says karate champion, and I believe it says from 1970 to 1972. So he's in the military. So somewhere between 1972 and 1978, Cobra Kai is founded as a school. And I had asked in an episode last year, the Time and Error episode, I asked them, say, if you guys are watching, could you let us know when Cobra Kai was founded? And 1 year later, season 4 came out. And then I didn't get my answer, and then season 5 came out, and they kind of showed a flashback. I'm like, okay, I guess they're not going to address it. I have a viewer, Isabel. Isabel pointed out to me that they actually did answer it. I just missed it. I haven't watched season 4 as many times as the movies yet, so I just missed this detail. But in the flashback scene in the tattoo shop, when Kreese and Silver are getting their tattoos, Kreese walks up to Silver and says, hey, this is the tournament I was telling you about. It's the All Valley tournament. And he goes, they started this while we were away, and I just entered Cobra Kai. And Silver goes, what do you mean you entered Cobra Kai? We don't have any students yet. He goes, I know. He goes, but this is a great way to get us on the center stage. So, but the detail I missed was the flyer says the 7th annual All Valley tournament. Doing a little bit of math. Season 1 of Cobra Kai takes place in 2018, and they were celebrating the 50th anniversary of the All Valley tournament. So if that was the 7th annual, rewind 43 years, and that takes you to 1975. Now, the comment that we don't have any students yet implies the school had just opened, because if the school was founded in 74 or 73, I don't think he ran 2 to 3 years with no students. So they pretty much told us that the school was opened that year, so that would be 1975. So show has confirmed, at least as far as I'm aware, that Cobra Kai Dojo was founded in 1975. So I think that's really fun that they put these kind of details in there. And I don't know if you guys are watching. If you are, thank you, because this is such a cool thing to hopefully be part of. But if not, it's still fun. Even if it's a coincidence, it's still fun to talk about it. Now, but if you guys are watching, can you address the belt rank issue that we were talking about in season 6? Can you let us know what the belt ranks are in Cobra Kai? I'd be very interested to see that. And if you guys have not seen that episode, we did that recently, where we kind of tried to, for fun, look at the evidence in the movies and the shows and kind of try to determine roughly what the belt rank order of Cobra Kai would be. I find it disturbing that Terry Silver knows that Carmen is pregnant. Yeah. What Terry Silver knows, or what he's got the ability to find out, is definitely concerning. And I found it funny that they showed Aikido for the 𝗘𝗘𝗧𝗡𝗏 magazine for the tournament. Yeah, okay. What I like about the season 2 is I really like that they've blurred the lines between arts. I mean, season 4 got obnoxious with the my art is better, my way is better, especially with Daniel. I wanted to smack him when Sam was scored a point on Tori, and he goes, "But you're not winning the right." No, she won the match. But you didn't win the right way, dude. Come on. It got a little ridiculous with the whole my way is your way, or my way is the better way and your way sucks. Even Robbie called him out on that. I really like that season 5 reversed that way of thinking. They don't really argue that topic too much anymore, but what we see all the characters mixing arts. We saw in that fight with Terry Silver and Daniel in Stingray's apartment, Daniel's getting his butt kicked, but that when he gets that one surge, and he gets Silver up against the wall, he punches the wall. If you watch closely, Silver is actually doing the drum technique. That's why Daniel missed him and why he hit the wall. You watch, and Silver actually turns, he does the drum technique, and that's why Daniel missed, and which leads us to the Bloody Knuckles, which is a callback to Karate Kid 3. I thought that was really interesting. We see Johnny a few times do the Miyagi-Do, the blocking, the defenses. When Daniel's fighting Silver the second time, he's using Miyagi-Do, but he's following Quicksilver method and the aggressive side, so he's mixing arts. We see Chosen, you know, use 𝗘𝗫𝗖𝗘𝗧 to let Silver know that he knows the art. We see the characters just overall, they're mixing styles, and they don't come out and say it, but they just show it. And I think it's cool seeing the evolution of these characters get to the point where they're all cross-training, and they're all acknowledging that it's not necessarily one art better than the other, but it's understanding when to use which art when and in what situations. And it's all based on context. And I think that was a really great thing that they added in there. I missed that. So somebody asked earlier is who's my favorite character? My favorite character in Cobra Kai. Oh, there's gonna go. Honestly, I have to say Johnny. The show started with Johnny's energy. I mean, the whole purpose of Cobra Kai was to redeem his character, and let's see where he's been. I mean, okay, we know Daniel's successful, and seeing somebody successful is not an interesting dramatic structure. We like seeing characters who are down and out, and we like to see their growth. And oh boy, has Johnny had a lot of growth in the show. But if I had to choose a favorite character, it'd probably be him or God, I like the kids too. Miguel and Robbie are pretty good too, but I'd probably say Johnny just because you have this connection to the original Karate Kid series. Johnny was like one of the favorite villains. Johnny was relatable as a villain as a kid because he represented all bullies. And, you know, for any kid growing up who's been bullied, and I had my fair share of kids picking on me, Johnny represented that. And it's a powerful thing to connect to and see a character overcome. So I think right away there's already a connection built in with Johnny. And seeing him redeem himself and learn to be a better person, I think is a much more satisfying path. And Cobra Kai has done that, has exceeded in that, showing the growth of this guy and what he's learned. Yeah, he's still stuck in the 80s, and he's regressed a bit here and there, but I think he's the most interesting character of the show. And even though there's Miyagi, he's the comic relief. At the same time, he's dramatically serious. He's the relatable one. I mean, honestly, let's not. I mean, the whole point of the Cobra Kai show was to show Johnny's side of things. It's almost like his point of view. Daniel's there, I think, to show the other side of that, and it became more of the duality. But if I had to pick one character for the show, I would say that Johnny's probably my favorite character. But it's hard to pick, man. They're all so good. All the returning characters have been wonderful. Daniel gets annoying. I mean, I love Daniel in the films, but he's got his moments in this series where he's kind of like, dude, what's wrong with you? Are you a kid? Are you a child? You know, raising the rent in the building, and just some of his hard-headedness, he's still retained that, apparently. So, God, I don't know if there's not many more cameos left in the show. So, all right, so besides the 𝗘𝗘𝗘𝗘𝗧 and Kreese, what else is left in Season 6 do you guys see? Where's somewhere else they could go? Should they do a full season, or should it be like a half season? Because one thing I don't want them to do is just event a whole bunch of new drama. Like, they wrapped season 5 up so well that there's they wrapped season 5 up so well that they could have, you know, with a few minor changes, they could have ended it there. So what's left? And also, so if you guys do want to see more streams like this is just kind of cool, just fun to have just a casual hangout, chat session, whatever you guys want to talk about. If we do more of these, do you guys want more of these? You know, you guys want to see more Retro Dojo, more video games? And if so, what games would you guys nominate? You know, we've got a lot of old NES games, SNES, SNES, Genesis, a lot of old games from the 80s and 90s, fighting games. We've got Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, there's Double Dragon, there's Ninja Gaiden, which Ninja Gaiden is a great game. Can't beat it. I've gotten to the end boss. I can't beat him. I haven't really played 2 and 3. I have them. I haven't really played them too much. Let me know what kind of games you guys would want to see. Right now I'm playing this game off an emulator, but I do have the hard copy. I just haven't hooked up any actual hardware yet. I have the hardware. I do have like an 80s room setup in my home office. I've got my parents' old console wooden TV from 1983. Still works. I've got my Nintendo, the Super Nintendo hooked up to it. The Atari. Recently got a Genesis from a thrift shop. So I kind of have a little bit of a gaming setup, but I don't have it set up for streaming, so I'm just using emulator right now. But if you guys have any game nominations, specific games you'd like to see, I'll definitely entertain it. We consider doing this again. Play Shinobi. Yeah, okay, Shinobi. I don't have it, but I could get it. I've never played that. I've played very few. I don't think I've played any Master System games. I've only played a few Genesis games. I didn't have Genesis growing up. My one of my good friends has it, and in high school I had the SNES and he had the Genesis, and we would actually have sleepovers. We would bring each other's systems to each other's houses, and we would play games back and forth. So okay, so Shinobi's a possibility. There's also games like Karate Champ. I know people hate Karate Champ. I always liked Karate Champ. It's not a great game, but I like how it's a little bit more. It's a very simple game. It's a tournament game, but it's realistic in terms of the moves are just front kicks, back kicks, punches, round kicks. It's like realistic moves. It's not implemented as well as it could have been, but I like it. I enjoy it. We could do a stream on that. I don't know how long that would be. Yeah. I wish I was better at this game. Like I said, I'm having more of a good time just talking to you guys. We'll play this just for a little bit more, and then we'll call it. But yeah. So basically, that's what I want to know. If you guys are interested anymore, if you're watching this later, if you're not with us here live right now, let us know in the comments if you want to see more streams like this. And if so, this is more of a casual stream. What time of day would work best for you guys? Like, do you like? I know half of our audience is in America. The other half is spread across the world. What time, for a laid back chat session like this, what would be ideal times? What would be some games you'd like to see, and what are some topics you'd like to discuss? I mean, this is kind of like an open forum. Whatever you guys want to talk about, it's kind of a chill chat and hangout session. And as weird as this game is, at least it's pretty accurate to the film for the most part. I mean, there's 1,000 bad guys that are carbon copies of everyone, but Daniel didn't fight a whole army of men or birds or sticks, but at least there's the tournament, which is the recap of the first part of the movie. And then there's, him in Okinawa, and now we've got the typhoon, and then the summer festival. And I've never gotten to Chosen. I know I've seen it played. The last stage, you get to the Okinawa, you get to the castle at the end, and you have to fight Chosen on a platform. I don't remember if the platform's tilting or not. But I know Kumiko's at the edge, and you have to keep her from falling off into the water while you fight and defeat Chosen. I've seen it on YouTube. I have not played that far into it. I've not made it that far. Furthest I ever got was right before Chosen. I'm not getting that far today. I think I only have like another life or two left. And this game is like I said, the hit detection is horrible, and it's really easy to get stuck in like stuck where you just get bounced back and forth. Scorch says, I've always liked the unusual martial arts styles featured in Tekken and Virtua Fighter. Virtua Fighter. I love Virtua Fighter. I played the first and second one a lot in the arcade. I love that this might be my last. That might be my last run. Oh, I got one more life. I love Virtua Fighter. I love how there's a lot of counters and there's flips. There's jiu-jitsu and judo techniques. I mean, yeah, there's a few weird special flips, but most of the fighting styles, at least in the first two that I played, were pretty realistic. And I like that as a contrast to Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter that didn't really have fireballs and all the weird fatalities. It felt more like a realistic fighting game in comparison. And it did 3D very well. It was one of the earlier 3D games. And I think it handled it, and the play control was excellent. I only played the third one a little bit. I think we're gonna call that there for the game. I'm gonna go back full screen. So I think the game handled that very well, and I wanted to play 3. I played it once in the arcade, and I know there's a whole bunch more after that. I've never played any ones after that, but I would be definitely willing to consider that if that's something you guys want to see. Please play Budokan, the martial spirit. Also going back to the swinging hammer minigame. Once it swings back, face it and press it. Oh, face it and press it again. Okay, so you can actually turn Daniel around. That might be why I'm always losing at that. All right. Well, you saw my personal best. I've dodged a hammer once. Okay, so Budokan, the martial spirit. I'm going to check that out as well. So we had some good suggestions here. But overall, thank you guys so much for joining. This was kind of fun. It was just a nice little, like I said, laid back, let's talk, chat, have coffee sort of thing. Let me know down in the comments below any future games that you want. If you guys don't like the stream, that's fine too. We're trying a whole bunch of different type of content. We're doing our live discussions. for more serious topics. This is more of the fun side, more of a casual side. We have a whole bunch of YouTube shorts that are coming out very, very soon. We've got like 40 of them that we've scripted. We'll be filming those soon. We've got more episodes that we're working on. We're trying to throw a lot of darts at the board and see what works. We're trying to cover a lot of different arts. We're trying to see the topics you guys are interested in. So thanks for hanging out with us. I hope you guys have an awesome, awesome weekend. So like I said, if you want to see more of these, just let me know down in the comments below. And we will see you next time. So have a great weekend, guys. Take care.